All right, welcome. I was gonna record a video just grading the cards for the new Foundation set. Just wanted to do this on my own and thought maybe people would care about it, so I'll make this recording and we'll see how it goes. If you've never watched a recording video, basically I'm gonna go through these cards and evaluate them and put them in a grading system. For the grades, you see A through F. You know, this is sort of going to be similar to limited resources grading scale, which is like what most people use. A's are bombs, game winners, like just unbelievable cards, amazing in general, like, totally change the game, warp the game around, and can win the game on their own. B's are really strong cards that are way above rate, really good, put you in that color pair. C's are like average cards, and I think with C's, I just want to kind of emphasize the difference between C plus, C, and C minus. So I think of C pluses as cards you usually just want as many copies as you can get. You almost always want them in your deck, and you want a lot. They're not game changing or totally must kill in the way B's are, but they're very good, and you're gonna want them a lot. And a regular C is, okay, sometimes will be good, sometimes will be bad. You'll definitely be happy to play a copy, but maybe not want more than that. And C minuses, I find like you want one copy. It's not exactly that way, but I think the most important thing is to kind of note that C pluses are like good, and the way you think about C pluses, because every set, there ends up being commons that you're just like, oh yeah, I want this card. I want as many copies as I can get, and that's like a C plus. D's are replaceable. They're the kind of cards where you'll take them, you'll play them, but you're not happy about it. And F's are completely unplayable. So we do have some Foundations draft archetypes. So I think this is important to note just to kind of see where everything goes in. So, so I'm going to be referring to this a lot, maybe, especially in the beginning. I'll be going back and forth just so that we remember it. So let's start with the uncommons, the multicolor uncommons. These usually are signposts for telling you what the color pair you're doing is. So we'll start with Perforating Artist. 3 mana, 3/2 Death Touch Raid. At the beginning of your end step, if you attacked this turn, each opponent loses 3 life unless they sacrifice an on-land permanent or discard a card. So it's important to note with Raid that it's not if this creature attacked, it's if you attacked. So Black-Red is the Raid theme. 3 mana, 3/2 Death Touch is totally fine from a defensive point of view, but Black-Red's about attacking with Raid. And I find that a 3/2, especially for 3 mana, like they're going to have something to block it. And they're going to be able to kill it. Now, you don't have to attack with this. So if you have other things to attack, it's definitely good. And you can play this after attacks, so they won't know it's coming. So like early game, so if you attack with a 2-drop, they block, and they lose their 2-drop. You play this, and they're going to lose the life, I suppose, probably early game. Maybe discard a card. Late game, it's useful, and I suppose late game, like, it's a good defender. I think this will probably depend on how aggressive Black-Red is. If Black-Red's really aggressive, then this card probably loses some value because it's just not very good at attacking. If Black-Red is like a grindy style deck where you just want to attack, but you're also trying to defend and grind them out, then I think this card becomes a decent amount more valuable because it can hold off the opponent and provides value when you attack. I wouldn't start out with thinking this card is great, so I'd probably go like C+. Like, I think you'll want as many copies as you kind of can get in Black-Red, but you're not going to go out of your way to pick this. Okay, Ruby Daring Tracker. Green-red, haste. It's a mana dork, so it taps for red or green, and then if a creature with power 4 or greater comes into play, it gets +2/+2. So it kind of only costs one. I mean, you can get the mana back when you play it because it has haste, so it can tap for mana. I forget what set this was in, and it was okay. I wouldn't say it was great, if I'm remembering correctly. Maybe someone can correct me. But, yeah, so green-red is power. Generate extra mana to play large creatures and outsize your enemies. Isn't this the same thing as ramp? Well, whatever. My initial impression is that this is a C+, where again, like you would take it, and it's always nice to have a mana dork. Little annoying that it needs both green and red before you can play it, but I think it's fine. Wardens of the Cycle. 1 black, green, green. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died, you can either gain 2 life or draw a card and lose a life. It's a 3/4. Yeah, so maybe I'm just like, maybe this set is weaker power level than recent sets, and so I'm underestimating these cards, but this doesn't seem super great. You really need to have Morbid going for this to be good. And this is 4 mana, 4 difficult mana too for a 3/4 on its own. And if stuff dies, like you can draw a card and lose a life, which I suppose is good. Or you can gain 2 life, but it has to be on your end step. That's the problem. So if you're aggressive, that's fine. But in general, green black, like especially if it's like morbid like that, it's just not. It's not usually that aggressive. And if you're defensive with this card, it's not doing anything unless you're actively sacrificing. Like if you're playing stuff where you're like sacrificing every turn with creatures that come back or are very like cheap tokens, then fair enough. And maybe that will be happening, in which case this card will gain value. But I honestly just think this is a C. Like, if you're not doing that, let's say you have a green black deck that's not like really doing the morbid, it's kind of like a value graveyard, maybe sack a couple things, like you're not really going to want that much of this card. All right, Balmor Battle Mage Captain. Blue-red for a 1/3 flyer, and whenever you cast instant sorcery, creatures get +1/+0 and trample. This card is really nice. At least it was in Dominaria United, which is where it was originally printed. 1/3 flyer is totally good combo, and playing instant sorceries, this can trigger at instant speed. It can give trample. I just remember this card being really good. I think this is like a B. Like you really want this. It's like total. I mean, it's a 2-drop. You'll play as many of these as you can get, and they stack with each other. Like it's a really good card. Empyrean Eagle, actually currently available in M20, which is draftable online. Yeah, I mean, 3 mana, 2/3 flyer. Other creatures you control flying get +1/+1. Flying is the blue-white theme, so I think given that, I'd say like solid B-. Maybe B. I'll go B. Why not? Something has to be a B. Yeah, I mean, 3 mana, 2/3 flyer is already pretty good value, and then giving other flyers +1/+1. Tatiova, 3 green blue. Whenever a land enters, you gain a life and draw a card. So when you play this card, I like to play it after a turn after you have 5 mana, so you can just play it and then instantly play the land, as opposed to just playing it on turn 5, where the opponent, if they can kill it, they almost certainly will before you can get the value. But this card is great. I mean, with these on the battlefield, you can really go nuts, just with value. Also, totally an easy splash to make if you're, green black, green red, something like that. It's very easy to splash the blue, or you could be blue, but green usually is better at splashing than blue. I like this card a lot. I think again, probably a B, maybe B+. I'll go B+. It's really good. I really like the card. Dreadwing Scavenger, 1 blue black for a 2/2 flyer. When it enters or attacks, loot, and then Threshold, it gets +1/+1 and has Death Touch. So with Threshold, it would be a 3/3 Flying Death Touch, which is pretty good, but it does always draw and discard, which with graveyard themes and control, it does seem pretty good. In general, in a core set, you need a little bit more card filtering and card advantage than you would in a normal set. So I'm just going to assume there's a little more of that going on, which makes this card even better in this set, as opposed to a set like Duskmourn, where just like, or Duskmourn actually you need card advantage too, but like there's been a lot of sets recently where like you just don't really want straight card draw and you don't care about looting. I'll give it a B-, I think. You know, if graveyard themes end up being more important than I thought, then this could be even better. Good Fortune Unicorn. 3 mana, 2/2. When another creature enters, put a +1/+1 counter on it. It's okay. So green-white is +1/+1 counters. So could be some good synergies with +1/+1 counters. Like if there's extra synergies beyond it just being like making creatures big, then this becomes better. It also becomes better, I think, if green-white is actually more of a mid-range deck than an aggro deck. If it's an aggro deck, playing a 3 mana 2/2 is not the greatest move because you don't really put pressure on your opponent as much quickly. But if you're mid-range, then this making things bigger, and certainly if you have like a lot of creatures, like if you can go wide, is like, it's not really mid-range, but go wide decks I find are a little bit more calculating than aggro decks. Aggro decks just like attack every turn. Go wide decks, you're like, you'll do some setup for a big board and then attack with everything and maybe use like a mass pump effect. So if green white is like a go wide, actually synergies with the counters, then this card becomes really good. Like that's how this card becomes like a BB+. If green white is like an aggro deck and +1/+1 counters are just kind of like a way to make, they're just good because they give +1/+1, then I think this card's like a C+. But so I'll go in the middle. I'll just give it a B-. Fiendish Panda. 4 mana, 3/2. When you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. And when it dies, you can return another non-bear creature with mana value equal or less to this creature's battle or power. So it's a 4 mana 3/2, just when it dies, return a 3-drop or lower. So if you just have the graveyard full, this card is like pretty good value. And it can go really out of control. I mean, if you're gaining life like every turn or something, or multiple times a turn, this becomes like a 6/5 when it dies. Really want to exile this card. That would be nice. I think this is pretty good. I think this is like a B. We'll say a B. I guess it's a 4-drop is maybe the only thing against it, just because you usually have a lot of 4-drops, and it's just not as like critical of a position to play it as like a 2-drop, for example, with like Ballad Mage. But I think a B is fine. And then Heroic Reinforcements. So, oh yeah, this card was great in the set it came out. This was M19. Create 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens, and until end of turn, every creature you control gets +1/+1 and has haste. So this on its own, just with nothing on the battlefield, basically creates 2/2s that can attack that turn. They then will become 1/1s later, but it's like a mass pump effect that also gives 2/2s for attacking. So this card is just good. It's much better than you think. It just works out exactly in all the positive ways. I'll go with a B. I mean, I think B+ is probably a little high, but good card. So, all right, given that, let's do some commons next. We'll do the commons first, and then we'll do the uncommons. We'll just start with white. I wish we could do this by mana cost, but I don't know if there's a way to do that. Maybe that? Okay. Healer's Hawk. So, 1 mana, 1/1 flying lifelink. This card was really good with the right synergies. I think this is great with, so just to be clear, the white synergies are flying, 1/1 counters, life gain, and aggro. So immediately this works with 3 of the 4 super easily in 1/1 counters, life gain, and flying. And if you include, I mean, 1-drops are good in aggro too. So I think that this is just probably pretty good. I at least a C plus. Could be a B minus, honestly. Like you really just like, this can be really nice. I think I'll leave it at C plus for now, but this wouldn't shock me if this is the best white common. It was the best white common in the last set it was in, so, or at least in Guild of Ravnica. Maybe it was in the set after that. Fleeting Flight, 1 mana, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. It gains flying. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt. Oh, to it. So this is a pretty good combat trick. So puts a +1/+1 counter on it and gives it flying, and then also it can't be dealt combat damage. So you can use it. So it puts a 1/1 counter on it. That works forever. Putting flying on it, useful. So you can use it sort of as like a +1/+1 flyer, like to deal the last points of damage. And preventing combat damage means it'll never lose in combat, at least. And it keeps the 1/1 counter. This seems really good. I mean, the only thing, like when you think about like some of these the best combat tricks in white, I always think about like the 1 in a white, usually like put a +1/+1 counter and make it invincible or your protection. And this kind of does that for 1 mana. And it gives you like other benefits too. So I think this is just good. Feels weird to give both 1-drops a C plus, but I kind of think this is a C plus. All right, Helpful Hunter. 1 in a white, 1/1 draw card. Never bad usually. I've seen this be good in some situations when you just want to draw a lot of cards and having little sacrifice bodies matter, but you know, when it comes to here, you're probably not gonna want it. Maybe be okay with it in a flying deck. 1/1 counters, it's probably okay. Life gain doesn't do anything. Aggro doesn't do anything. So I think I'll keep it at C, but it could be worse. It doesn't seem like that kind of set where this card is particularly great. Heir Apparent. 1 in a white for a 2/2, and it creates 1/1 white creatures equal to the number of other creatures you control named Heir Apparent. So the first one's just a 1 in a white 2/2, and then if you play more, other creatures, yeah. So the first one's just a 2/2, and then the next one would create a 1/1, and then if you had more, you would create even more. This doesn't seem great. This seems like a 1 in a white 2/2 in most situations. I think I'm just gonna go D plus. Like, I don't think you really want this. I guess if you have a lot of them, it starts to become okay. I mean, I suppose like if no one's taking these, you can start to get like 3 or 4, and then even then, like, what are you doing? Like, your 2-drop will create an extra 1/1, but your 2-drops are not very good because they're just 2/2s now. I mean, if you can get like 6 of these, then sure, play them, but I think I'm just gonna go D. I think this is just not good. Right? I'm just making sure this doesn't create one automatically. If it includes the first one, then this card is really good. Yeah, it's other creatures, so I think that's bad. Cathar Commando. One on a white, 3/1 flash. Oh yeah, this card. This card's fine. It's funny because this card becomes like this card is, I think, actively played in cube and sometimes maybe even constructed. It's like not that good in limited. It's fine. It comes in, it can kill stuff. It's a 3/1, and sometimes the enchantment thing's relevant, but it ends up becoming 3 mana to destroy target artifact or enchantment basically. So it has to be a really good artifact or enchantment to want to use it on that. Just to see, I think is probably fine. All right, Dazzling Angel, 3 mana, 2/3 flying. Whenever another creature you control enters, you gain 1 life. Yeah, it seems solid. I mean, good in the life gain deck, good in the flying deck. Seems okay in the other decks. I mean, 3 mana, 2/3 flyer is stat wise is not great anymore, but makes me want to move Imperium Eagle down now that I see this. Because I kind of just want to give this a C. I mean, I guess in the life gain deck, you'll really want this. And in the flying deck, it'll be okay. And you probably don't play it in the... I guess it's... I'll give it... Fine. I'll give it a C+, just... based on, I think, the 2/3 flying, and then with life gain, it's pretty good. It kind of covers all its bases. Prideful Parent. 3 mana, 2/2 vigilance. That creates a 1/1 white creature token. I think it's probably just a C. Creates 2 creatures, which is solid, but I don't know. Unless there's like real synergies there, I don't know what it's gonna do. And this doesn't really have synergies with life gain, or the only thing it really seems to work well with, I'd say, is aggro, or if green white is go wide, but I don't necessarily see that yet. I guess you'd say like if you have like the unicorn, for example, this becomes like 3 mana, 3/3 and 2/2, which would be really good. But I think just a C. Inspiring Paladin. 3 mana, 3/3. During your turn as first strike. Oh, and creatures you control with 1/1 counters on them have first strike. So good in the green-white deck, and it's pretty good attacking. But I mean, attacking with first strike is a big deal, but 3 mana, 3/3. It's funny because this would have been so good just even like a few sets ago, but now this is kind of like par for the course for like a 3-drop. It's like, give me 3 mana, 3/3 plus more. Not great in flyers or life gain. I think a C is probably fair. Make your move. Oh. Yeah. I think in this set, this is probably like a D+, C-. So this is good if, like, in some sets where stuff is big and powerful. I mean, we're already kind of seeing in white there's not. I mean, we looked at only cheap cards, but like the set has to really, in order for you to want to main deck this, you'd have to either, there have to be a lot of artifacts or enchantments, or there's like every deck has big creatures that you want to kill. My instinct is that this is not the case. Banishing Light. 3 mana, exiles non-land permanent until it dies. I think this is just B-, I would think. I mean, this used to be uncommon until recently, so it's kind of crazy that it's not. So I think it's just going to be good. It would probably have been like a B before, but I think now like power creep has kind of made that a B-. All right, 4 mana, 3/3 flyer. Whenever you gain life for the first time each turn, surveil 1. It doesn't seem great to me. Probably give it like a C-. doesn't give you a way to gain life. I mean, pretty good with Dazzling Angel, like the combo, but Surveil one's not that good. And it only works once each turn, so I don't think this is that good of a value. Alright, 4 mana, 3/4, and then for 3 mana, you can look at the top 4 and reveal a cheap creature and put it into your hand. Again, I don't really... You certainly don't need any more than, like, one of these. I kind of want to say, like, D. Yeah, it just doesn't seem very good. It's 4 mana, it's understated, and like using the effect, I mean, I don't know, what are you getting exactly? Like, I guess Healer's Hawk and stuff like that. It's a lot of mana to be using. Wheel spinning. Felidar Savior. 4 mana, 2/3 lifelink. Oh, is this just Basri's Acolyte? When it enters, put a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 other target creatures. Yeah, this card is good. I mean, it's great in flyers because it puts counters on flyers. It's great in 1/1 counters. It's great in... Yeah, this card is just really good. This works in every deck. And it's like, it's good with lifelink. Yeah, this is just a good card. This is the 4-drop you want. I feel good about putting these 4-drops down low because you're just going to want as many of these as you can get, I think. And you're not going to want these to be wasting your 4-drop slot. So yeah, I would guess this is the best white common. It usually is. Usually this, I guess Banishing Light's also in contention, but I'm going to go with that for now. Let's see what we got here. I guess we can just get rid of it. Well, we're doing it this way. Why not? 5 mana, 4/4 Vigilance. When you attack with 3 or more creatures. Oh, hey, there's the go wide thing. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It's okay. I think I'd probably go with like D+. I don't really... Like, going wide is good, but you don't... basically when you attack with 3... Let's say you put the 1/1 counter on this. Like a 5 mana 5/5 is not even that great. Vigilance is nice with a big creature, but... It's not even like... It's not after blockers. Like, they're going to know what it's coming. I just... Seems like a little understated. Okay, instant. This costs 3 less if it just targets a tapped creature. Destroy target creature. We have this right now in Dustmourne. I think this is pretty good. Yeah, I think this is just good. Like C+, maybe? C. I guess... So, in Flyers, this is really good because they're going to be cracking back on the ground. Life gain, not as good. Aggro, not as good. And I guess life gain it's still good. I meant 1/1 counters, not as good. All right, I'll give it a C. I think like it just depends on the set and what you are. Okay, is there anything left? Okay, so those are all the white commons. I think Felidar Savior, probably the best so far. Seems fine. Yeah, seems fine. All right, let's do blue commons. I just like to do the commons first. Witness Protection. Oh yeah, this card. So this makes it lose everything and becomes a 1/1. It was not good. This effect usually just isn't good. Leaving a 1/1's a big deal. I mean, if you're like really defensive, it can be good. So, like maybe in like blue-black, which is really controlling. And I guess flyers, it's okay if you put it on like a big flyer, but you still don't want them to just have a 1/1. Yeah, I don't know. I can't describe it right now, but it's just leaving them a 1/1 is a big deal usually. I'm just gonna rate it a D, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Target creature gets -1/-0 and draws a card. Okay, so this is gonna be really good in blue-red spells. because it just puts a spell in the graveyard really easily. This is very cheap too, 1 mana. This is almost like a cycler. This is pretty good. I like this card. Even in like blue-black, it puts a card in the graveyard. Blue-green and blue-white, it's not especially good, but it still does something. I think this is like a C+. I like this card. I think it's going to be more useful than you'd think. Aegis Turtle. Woo! The 05 is back. I think just give it a D+. You don't really want... I mean, maybe... Look, it's controlling. Blue seems pretty controlling in the set. Only kind of beat down deck, or only deck trying to kill quickly is the Flyers deck, and this is fine in a Flyers deck. But just 05 is not what you're looking for usually. It could be good. I don't know. It depends on the situation, but I don't think so. Strix Lookout. 2 mana, 1/2, Flying Vigilance, draw a card, discard a card. Okay, so it can attack every turn as long as you at least have flyers, and then draw a card, discard a card. If this was a 2/1, this would be really good. As is, I just think it's a little weak. You know, like, it's not going to really be able to block, and like, what are you doing if you're spending 2 mana to loot? So I'm going to go D+ for now. I don't know. I've seen stuff like this. I guess being able to attack and then also loot is pretty good. I'll go up to C-. Just based on the vigilance being pretty good. And maybe like you'll want to loot a little bit more because it's a core set. All right, 2/1 Flash Prowess. Oh, wow. So Flash being able to block stuff is nice. The prowess is where it hurts that it's a 2/1. Because if it was a 2/2, you could like outpace a 2/2 for like if you blocked a 2/2 and then cast a spell somewhere else, it'd become a 3/3, but it's probably still gonna die even if you cast a spell when blocking. I'll give it a C. I mean, I think it's still okay, and you'd still play it in blue-red, and it can still do a lot of damage if they don't see it coming. I think being a 2/1 limits it a little bit. Think Twice. I know this is a reprint, although I've never played with the original. So draw card, 1 and a blue is not great, but it can flash back for 2 and a blue. So if you usefulness there, first of all, it's 2 spells if you're talking about like for prowess triggers and stuff like that. Flashing it back does count as casting a spell. If it goes into your graveyard, you can still cast it. So if you like mill it or discard it from your hand, which is good in blue-black. Other than that, it seems okay. My guess is that this is a little bit stronger than it looks. Just on first glance, it looks really inefficient. So I'm just going to give it a C. I would give it a C-, but I just have a feeling it's going to be a little better. Runaway Together. Oh, we've seen this before. So this card is okay. It depends on the situation. Basically, if you have a lot of enter the battlefield effects, it's great bouncing your own creature. If you don't, this is sort of a waste because then you're not really like you're returning one of their things, but you have to return one of your own things too. I haven't seen a ton of great ETBs yet. Like I don't see stuff that really jumps to mind. So I'm gonna give it a C-. Maybe I'm wrong. Refute. Counter target spell and then loot. I guess you have to counter a spell though for this to work, right? You can't just play it to loot. Not that you'd want to very often, but I mean, cancel with upside like that. This is pretty good upside. I think I'll go C. I mean, it seems solid. Looting's a big deal. Yeah. Erudite Wizard, 3 mana, 2/3. When you draw your second card each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Oh. So you need ways to loot. I guess maybe the Strix Lookout, among other things. I think it's solid. I guess if you do it once, you're doing okay. You could like play it and maybe draw again. I would go C minus. I just like even a 3/4 isn't blowing me away. Once it becomes like a 4 or 5, then I'm pretty happy. But I don't know. There's not a ton of ways I see to draw. I guess think twice is kind of and refute. Okay, it's a little better than I thought. I'll put it at C just because I'm like going through. Yeah, I guess you're seeing a lot of stuff that lets you draw a card. So, okay, fine. We'll put it at C. Mocking Sprite. Instants and sorceries cost 1 less to cast. Yeah, but a 2/1 flyer is for 3 mana. For 2 mana, it's great, but for 3 mana, it's a little rough. I mean, it is a flyer. It is good at instants and sorceries, but it's not controlling, and it's not. What's the other blue archetype? Yeah, it's not good for ramp either. So I think just C minus is fine. Uncharted Voyage. What does this do? Oh, this is okay. Target creature's owner puts it in their choice of top or bottom. Surveil 1. So this is just Vanished from Sight from Duskmourn, which I thought was plenty good in Duskmourn, and probably will be plenty good here. I think this set's probably lower power level in Duskmourn. In Duskmourn, I'd give this like a C/C plus. So I think here I'm just gonna give it a C plus. Big Fin Bouncer. 4 mana, 3/2 bounce. Opponent bounces a creature. You can't bounce your own creature, admittedly. I mean, I think this seems fine. 3 mana, 2/2 bounce a creature is good. It's Mana War. I don't think the extra mana for the power is worth it, but usually Mana War is like a B. So getting this is a little worse than that. I think a C plus is probably still fine. Very good tempo. And the 3 power, I'd rather it be a 3/2 than a 2/3, because if you're bouncing stuff, you're probably trying to put pressure on your opponent. So getting to damage stuff, getting your attack for more is good. Light Shell Duo. Yeah, so this card, 4 mana, 3/4 prowess, and when it enters Surveil. This card is good. I mean, blue was pretty bad in Bloomborough, and this was like one of the better cards. This I think might have been the best common. Better than you'd think, so. And in this set, it could be even better. I think with all this stuff, yeah, I like this at B minus. I think just considering like some of the cheap spells we have and how often we're going to be doing stuff. I just think this is going to be good. I think you want it in pretty much every deck. I mean, maybe the Flyers deck doesn't want it, but it's still a good blocker of non-Flyers. It's in ramp. Surveilling is really nice. It's just, I mean, it's good for the graveyard. I think this is the best blue common, would be my guess. Icewind Elemental. 5 mana, 3/4. When it enters, draw a card, then discard a card. It seems fine. I mean, late game, if you hold lands, this is like exactly what you want to draw. But I don't know how many of them you can really put in your deck. I'll give it a C. I think there's a chance this is a C plus, but I just am not sure how many you'd want. Oh, and then Tolarian Terror. Oh, this card's back. 7 mana, 5/5, but costs 1 less for each instance and sorcery in your graveyard. So this card was so good in Dominaria United. You get a blue-red deck with a lot of different cheap spells in your graveyard. It's just like 1 mana, and you play like 2 or 3 of these. It was really nice. It was like a B in Dominaria United. I think here, I mean, we have the cards to make it work. With Think Twice, don't flash this back. It'll work against you in that case. I mean, it's okay. So it's a build around, but I think it's a build around B minus. We'll see if we can see some other good cheap cards, especially in red. The more cheap spells you have, the better this gets. So like right now, like Fleeting Distraction's unbelievable with Tolarian Terror. But anyway, let's go to black. All right, stab black. Target creature gets -2/-2. It's pretty good. I mean, it's always been a solid effect. Good against aggro. C plus, I think, feels fair. Probably used to be better, but now power creep's kind of caught up. 1 mana, 1/1, and when it dies, create a black and green insect creature striker with flying. Oh, hello. That's an upgrade. Usually this kind of card just gives a 1/1, but happy to do it with flying. Okay. I wonder how much that improves it. I don't think... Normally this is good with sacrifice, but I actually don't see a sacrifice theme here. Usually black-red would be sacrifice. Sometimes black-white. So none of these... I guess Morbid is kind of a sacrifice theme. And it does say... I guess it does say it's a green and black creature. So this is clearly meant to be sacrificed. But that's just one deck. And I think in other decks it's not ideal. I'm deciding between C and C minus. I guess how much does the 1/1 can fly matter? I'm gonna go C minus, and I'm willing to accept that I might be wrong. Eaten Alive. Well, already a good thing to use with that. So Eaten Alive it's either 5 mana. It basically is 5 mana exile target creature, planeswalker, or 1 mana sacrifice a creature and exile. So this is good in the Morbid deck because you're sacrificing your own creature, and I guess this is a good thing. I'm gonna move this up to C. Just to go back. I know I don't really like changing things after the fact, but now just looking already at this card, like I think this is a C. This seems really critical in the green black deck. Probably like a C plus in green black and maybe a C minus and everything else. Anyway, Eaten Alive. This is a good effect. I mean, it hasn't been printed in a while, so maybe power creep has gone up, but I think just like B minus, this is good, and it has extra bonuses with you actually have a deck that wants things to die in green black, so I think just a B minus is good. Exile, very critical. So I like it. Possibly the best black common. 2 mana, 1/3. When it attacks, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So it is a life gain deck, and it kind of attacks as a 2/3. At least like it makes them lose a life. Find blocker. I don't know. Like a C minus maybe. What are we going? So graveyard doesn't do anything. Life gain, it's good. Morbid, it's fine. And raid, I guess it does attack. You do trigger the attacks. I still just think a C minus. It just doesn't seem great. 1/3. 1/3 is one of the worst. I think usually on average it's the worst stat line between like 1/3, 2/2, and 3/1. Hungry Ghoul. 2 mana, 2/2. Sacrificing the creature. Put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Done at instant speed and sacrificing. Again, okay, I'm really glad I moved this up because it just seems very clear that you want to sacrifice this a lot. Good in the Morbid deck. Doesn't seem great in anything else. I think C minus seems fine. Pilfer. 2 mana. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it, and they discard. 2 mana for this effect is usually pretty good. Was this always a common? I think this. I thought this was an uncommon, but making it a common is nice. Yeah, I think this is pretty good. I mean, it used to be like a C plus, B minus level card. I'll keep it at C plus. It's possible that it's gone down since then. If the set's too aggressive, then it will be a little worse. But against opponents, I mean, getting their bomb out of their hand early is really nice. And 2 mana is a lot less than 3, which is usually what this effect is. Macabre Waltz. Oh no. So this effect for 3 mana is called Soul Salvage. Return 2 creatures, but you don't have to discard a card. With this, it's not card advantage anymore. It's card neutral, so you have to have like a land or whatever. I think that's a lot worse, honestly. Like, if you want to discard cards, sometimes you do. That's fine, but in general, I think this is like a D plus. It just, I don't know. Card neutral is definitely worse. Fake Your Own Death. Until end of turn, they get +2/+0. And when they die, return to the battlefield tapped, and you create a treasure token. This card is better than you'd think. I'm going to go C+. I just remember in Streets of New Capenna, which I think this was in, this effect was good. The treasure was really nice. The 2/0 was really good. It all kind of came together to be better than you'd think, which usually these like die and come back things aren't ideal, but I think in this case it's usually pretty good. You could sacrifice it just, yeah, I'm gonna put it as C+. Maybe in this set it's not quite as good, but we'll see. Burglar Rat. Opponent discards a card. Always been fine. I think it's usually better than the draw the card version. I think I'll just go with a C for now. Nothing seems to jump at using this, but it's always just totally fine card. Sometimes it's great. There's been some sets where it's the best black common, but I think here it just seems okay. Gutless Plunderer. 3 mana, 2/2 Death Touch. When it enters, if you've attacked this turn, put one of those cards. Look at the top. Basically, Surveil 3, sort of. Surveil 3, but you have to put 2 in the graveyard. Okay, it's not Surveil 3, but it's look at the top 3 and put the rest in the graveyard. This seems solid. I mean, obviously good in black-red for when you're attacking, but I think sort of also underrated in that it's very good defensively. 2/2 Death Touch can really block a lot of things. Block anything, almost. And the card selection and putting stuff in the graveyard is good in, like, blue-black. I guess black-white it's not as good, but I'd say like a C. I think it's totally solid. What's the other? Black-white and Morbid, it's okay too. Yeah, I think C is probably fine. Oh, this 3 mana, 3/2. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. I think this is like a C minus. In the life gain deck, you like this card. It's probably like a C in the life gain deck. If you're like really all out in life gain, it's a C+. But it's just awful in other decks is the problem. It's a 3 mana, 3/2. You like really don't want it. So I'm just gonna put it as a C minus on average. All right. Soul Shackled Zombie. 4 mana, 4/2. When it enters, exile up to 2 cards from a graveyard. If one of those was a creature, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Okay, so 4 mana, 4/2 is bad. But you can exile stuff from their graveyard. And let's just say, if you exile a creature, 4 mana, 4/2, drain them for 2, I think is fine. And then removing stuff. So if you remove something good from their graveyard, like a good spell that they were counting on for like Tellurian Terror or something, and a creature, and it's a 4/2, so you drain them for 2, that's a good card. The problem is there's a lot of times that this doesn't do that. Like if they I mean, if they like are beating down on you and you're playing this, and you don't have anything to I guess you would exile stuff from your own graveyard, but it just doesn't block. This doesn't block at all. This is like an aggressive kind of card. I don't know. I think I'd like this more if it was a 2/4. I'd certainly like it more if it was a 3/3. I'm just gonna go C minus. So the thing is, this drain effect on creatures is really underrated. I think like there's a like vampire spawn. It's a 2 and a black for a 2/3 that just drains them, and that card is criminally underrated. Every set it comes out, but this doesn't always do it, and it's a 4/2, which is not really what I'm looking for, and it's 4 mana instead of 3, so I just don't like it. Maybe I'm wrong, but we'll see. Crypt Feaster. All right, 4 mana, 3/4 menace, threshold. It gets 2+2/+0. So 4 mana, 3/4 menace, and if you have threshold, it's a 5/4 menace. Blue black isn't really super aggressive, so if you have threshold, which you're most likely to have it in blue black, it's not. I mean, 5/4 menace is fine, but not exactly what you're looking for. In other decks, 3/4 menace is okay. I guess it's good for attacking maybe, but I think it's just a C minus again. I just want a little bit more for my 4-drops. Bake into a pie. Destroy target creature, create a food token. Yeah, this card has always been really good. Again, the extra value on that, which is good for life gain decks too. I'm thinking just a B. Like, this is usually the best black common, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's pretty good. 5 mana Vampire Soulcaller. 5 mana 3/2 flyer, can't block. Well, it better be good. When this creature enters, return creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So it's like a Gravedigger, but a flying can't block for an extra mana. What deck is this? What deck are you playing this in? So if you're controlling, this is really tough because it can't block. And if you're aggro, I guess you have stuff in your graveyard and this is fine, but the can't block text is a big deal. Especially because black seems pretty controlling. I guess like black-red is pretty aggressive, probably. But this seems pretty bad to me. I want to go like D+. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like overthinking it. I don't really see it. All right, let's just get rid of that. All right, no cheap, no really expensive black cards. Yeah, black seems okay. I'm thinking like doesn't look like it has a lot of good creatures. So I don't know. Black's my favorite color, so I hope it's good, but I don't know. I like white and blue a lot more. Red. Okay. So we got Fanatical Firebrand. 1 mana, 1/1 haste, sacrifice, it deals 1 damage to any target. Always been it's okay card. Usually it's a little too weak to really justify it. Even in like red, white, and black, red, which red, I guess red is a really aggressive color. I mean, only green, red is like even a little bit controlling, but this is just a little too weak, ineffective. I'm just gonna give it a D+. Burst Lightning. Oh, red mana, 2 damage to any target, and it can be kicked to deal 4. That seems pretty good. Shock with upside. Yeah, I mean, you're going to want cheap spells in blue-red, and it can help kill them at the very end, because it can hit and go face, so I'm thinking C+, maybe B-. I mean, you could, for 5 mana at the end of the game, like, just kill them, or kill their last big creature. Like, 5 mana deal 4 isn't great, but you can go face. Yeah, I'll go B-. You know, I think That's fine. Courageous Goblin. 2 mana, 2/2. When this creature attacks, when you control a creature with power 4 or more, it gets +1/+0 and gains menace. That seems good. You know, early game it's a 2 mana 2/2, which isn't great, but it's fine. And then late game, or not even late game, but like mid game, you can just also just play a 4-drop, and then it attacks as a 3/2 menace. And 3/2 menace for 2 is really good. You want this in black, red, or black, green. Or sorry, red, green, or red, black, I think. And because menace is good for attacking. Red, white, it's fine. I guess red, blue, you don't really want it. I'll go with a C. I think it's possible that this is better, and certainly in the right black, red deck or green, red deck, you really want it. Thrill of Possibility. Discard a card, draw 2 cards. Yeah, this is always fine. Maybe I'm thinking like spells. Would you want this more in spells? But maybe it is an instant, but it's still just tough to imagine wanting like 2 or 3 of these in most decks, and some of them aren't going to want it at all. So maybe in a blue-red deck, I'd move this up to C, but I think in most decks it's probably a C-. Sure Strike. Solid enough combat trick. +3/+0 and first strike. I think, again, C-. And some, maybe it's a little better. I mean, you want it in, I guess it's a combat, it's a instant and sorcery for blue-red and red-black, attacking. You know, they might block it, and I'm going to go with C- for now. I think you probably don't. I guess you want like 1 in most red decks and maybe multiple in the right kind of red deck. Is that a C? It does sound like a C. All right, we'll move it to C. Firebrand Archer. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this deals 1 damage to each opponent. It's a 2/1. So blue-red spells deck, clearly. But I think the 2/1 just makes it a little too weak. Put it here. I think in blue-red it probably is a C. And then, Axguard Cavalry can give haste. It's always just been okay. I think probably a C-. I'll go with C. I think it's just tough with cheap, because if you're red, you're gonna want cheap creatures. So anything that's like a 2 mana creature just sort of gets like an inherent boost. And like, so what is the red 2-drop of choice here? Is it Courageous Goblin? Maybe. But if you're not really looking for Courageous Goblin, like what are you looking for? Like, and I guess Axguard Cavalry, like it is good late in the right, and since every red deck seems pretty aggressive, I think you're gonna be okay with this. Although the 2-drops make me a little worried about red's ability to work in general, but we'll see. Goblin Borders, 3 mana, 3/2 raid. It enters with a +1/+1 counter if you attacked. So if you can get an attack in, it's a 4/3. So that's still fine. I'll say C, maybe C-. I'll go. I guess if you attacked, it becomes a 4-power creature. All right, we'll go C. We'll go a little bit out there. We'll just put ourselves out there a little bit on that card. Crackling Cyclops. 3 mana, 3/4, or 3 mana, 0/4. When you cast it on a creature spell, it gets +3/+0 until end of turn. Wow, okay, so this is like a spells payoff of spells payoff. So if you put Sure Strike on this card, it becomes a 6/4 first strike. This really wants you to cast stuff. I almost think this has to be a build around, but it's like a build around C Can I like emphasize build around here? Yeah, okay, build around. We'll go build around C. So only play this kind of in blue-red, or if you have a lot of spells, because 3 mana 0/4 is terrible. Goblin Surprise. Okay, choose one. Creatures you control get +2/+0, or create 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. Wow. So they made Trumpet Blast also work with that. It seems pretty good. Certainly in the right kind of deck. Like you want a spells deck, you'd probably use it mostly for the goblins. And in in red white and red black, you probably do the creatures get +2/+0. Yeah, okay. I think this is pretty good. I'd probably give this a. I think you're gonna want this. I haven't seen any mass pump effects. I don't think there was any common in white. And yeah, I think you're just gonna want this with spells and helping you attack. So I think this is kind of like all the effects are C level, but overall, I think you're gonna take it at a C+ level, probably. Okay, for Sower of Chaos, 4 mana, 4/3, target creature can't block. It's a lot of mana, but man, does this make it tough for your opponent. I guess you have to do it ahead of time before blocks are declared, but this seems really annoying. Like if you're at like 8 life and your opponent plays this, like what are you doing? You're just holding everything back and waiting, and they can use all their mana. Like this is good. So the problem with moving this too high is you obviously don't want, like, once you have 1 on the battlefield, that's it. But I guess they just want to kill it. And it is a pretty aggressive, red's a pretty aggressive color, and it's 4 power. I think this is a B-. Maybe I'm going out there on a limb, but am I like missing some downside to this card? I guess you play it doesn't work right away, but I was thinking you put this on the battlefield and they're gonna, like, if they're at low life, they're gonna have to kill this, and even if they don't kill it, they're gonna have to hold everything back, like, just to prevent you from, like, once you get 6 mana, 2 things can't block. And you can prevent, like, if they play 1 big creature, like, this can just prevent them from blocking. Like yes, you have to be aggressive. If you're defensive, this card does nothing, or it's just understated. Although 4 power is good for blocking. I think this is just really good. I think the other thing is every red deck is aggressive, or at least like pretty aggressive. So I think this is just really good. Spitfire Lagak, 4 mana 3/4. When a land enters, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Yeah, I don't really see this one being very good. So you think this is useful in dealing damage, but the 2 things I'm seeing is, 1, there's nothing that works with the damage. Like there's no, like, if you, like, raid is if you attacked, not if you dealt damage. And the 4 power for red green requires 4 power. This is 3. And the landfall, the other thing is, like, once you're at 4 lands, like, you're not necessarily drawing that many more lands. I mean, maybe you're hoping not to, but also, like, the chances of you getting to 5, 6 mana and 6 lands in a game is pretty high, but 7, 8, 9, like, it starts to go down drastically. So, you know, I think you'd be lucky to deal 4 or 5 damage with this on a lot of games. So I'm thinking like a D+. It just seems like doesn't have a home. Involuntary Employment. This is active treason effect. Gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap it. It gains haste. Create a treasure token. Huh? We did have some sack effects. So this, like, that works like perfectly with Eaten Alive, because you literally are given the mana, the treasure token, to use Eaten Alive. And I guess it would work well with Hungry Ghoul as well. So you do have some really cheap sack outlets. Not in red that I saw. But is this? Yeah. But I still think it's solid. I think in red black this will be good with the amount of sack we're talking about here. I'll go C. There's a chance this is really good, especially if there's some red uncommons or even some commons that involve sacrificing a creature. Like this gives the 1 mana, so like if you have a 1 mana sack card in play, you can play this on turn 4, and it becomes take the creature and then kill it later. So I have my eye on this, but I'll go C for now. But this could easily, I'm gonna move it to C plus. I'm just gonna move it to C plus preemptively, and we'll see. 5 Incinerating Blast deals 6 damage, and then you may discard, and if you do, draw. But it's a sorcery, so we have that in this set. It's an instant in Duskmourn. I mean, it's an instant, and the discard and draw is only if you I guess it's a draw, but like you play it till end of turn. 6 is a lot of damage. 6 I think kills a lot of things, but it's a lot of mana, and since red looks like it's pretty aggressive, this is like going to be a very top end. So you probably want one of these in some to most of your decks. So I'll go C minus, but note that it's probably just fine to take 1. But you should probably just get it. When you play this late game, like if you have this in a land in hand and they play a big creature, like this is going to be great because it's going to kill it and you can discard your land. But I don't think you're going to want 2 of them, so you should treat it like a C minus, even if it plays like a C sometimes. Gorehorn Raider, 5 mana 4/4. If you attacked, this creature deals 2 damage to any target. Yeah, it seems pretty good. It's kind of nice because like forcing the attack to trigger raid oftentimes leads to them doing a block that will, like, let's say you attack with like 3 2/2s and they have a 4/4. They'll block one of your 2/2s and it dies and you deal 4 damage to them, and then you play this and you kill the 4/4 with the remaining 2 damage. And if they can't do that, then you can still use it to kill a small creature or go face. So I think this is a good card. I think this seems really nice. I'll go C plus. I think. Not quite as good. I don't know. Sower of Chaos seems a little better, but Gorehorn Raider still seems nice. I like the top end for these at least. Is there anything crazy? I mean, at this point, I don't know what. Yeah, like what red 6 drop are you really playing? All right, last color for commons. Llanowar Elves, 1 mana 1/1, add a mana. So what do we think of this? There are sets where this can be really, really good, but also late game, this is a bad draw. I think overall, probably just a C in terms of like early game, you really want it. Late game, it sucks. We'll see. I mean, you'll need enough card draw. I guess there's not. I haven't seen any. Is there no blue common like draw spell? I just think twice, but there's no divination or anything. No. I'll move it to C minus just because I'm starting to sort of doubt. I mean, what is? I guess this says ramp, and this is also generate extra mana. So they are kind of like screaming at you like you want extra mana. So I think just based on kind of the archetypes, I'm gonna move this up to C, but just be wary. There's a chance this card's bad. Giant Growth. 1 mana +3/+3. I think it's just C minus. It's always just fine, but never great. And then Bushwhack. This is a common? Oh, wow, okay. Bushwhack. Green. Search the library for a basic land, put it in your hand, then shuffle. Or target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. This is very, very good. I think last time it was printed, it's very nice. I'd put it at like B minus. I mean, early game gets you a land. It's totally great. You can like replace a land with this if you want. And then it has the out of basically being a removal spell. So both effects are a little understated, but this is really like the two effects you'd want, because like you either want one or you want the other. Like you're never not gonna want, or very rarely would you not want either of these. Wary Thespian. When this enters or dies, surveil 1. I think this is they're starting to print this a lot now. I think I'll just say C. It's just very common at this point. I suppose maybe C plus, just considering like morbid, you want it to die, grave. I guess green isn't really a graveyard theme. I mean, this probably is just a good 2-drop. Are you actively going to want a lot of them? I think probably C. Just like kind of quickly. Yeah, okay, we'll go C. But this is pretty good. This is a good C, I guess. Way to put it. Gnarlid Colony. 2 mana, 2/2, and you can kick it, in which case it would be a 5 mana 4/4. And each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has trample. This I remember being good. And furthermore, like it works with the +1/+1 counters and ramps well. This seems like the 2-drop. Yeah, okay. I'm glad I made this a C, because I think this on average is going to be the 2-drop you want. I think if you're green-black, it's probably Wary Thespian, but I think almost anything else you probably want Gnarlid Colony. Elite, 2 mana, 2/2, but if you control another elf, create an elf creature token. I haven't seen a ton of elves. I mean, there's obviously some, but I think this is just let's see. There's Llanowar elves. That's not an elf. That's not an elf. Yeah, I mean, this is often going to be the first card you play. I'm going to go C minus. Maybe there's a lot of elves, in which case, fine. If this created a 1/1 every turn, it would probably be a C, B minus maybe. But I just don't think it's going to do it very often. So, Bite Down. Just 2 mana punch. It's always okay. We'll give it a C. Chance it's worse if there's too much instant speed interaction. But, it's fine. Ambush Wolf. 3 mana, 4/2 flash. When this creature enters, exile 1 target card from a graveyard. Yeah, I mean, nice way to block some stuff. Maybe do some damage if they tap out that they weren't expecting to come. The exile seems okay. I guess you can like exile if they're gonna do something like Macabre Waltz, which just makes the card even worse. Yeah, it's fine. I'd say like a C minus. I don't really see like where you're like jumping to get them, but you'll play it. Grow from the Ashes. So 3 mana, put a basic land on the battlefield. And if it's kicked, you put 2. Worth noting that this is not, say, tapped. So 5 mana, put 2 untapped basic lands. This was pretty good. It's a good way to splash. I'm sure this is going to be very good in blue-green. Assuming blue-green's good. That's probably fine in black-green, too. Red-green, it's probably a little slow, but maybe you want to go, like, maybe you're going to want to be, like, more of a mid-range deck, and it's okay. I don't think white-green's very good. I think I'll go C. Like, some decks you'll want several, and some decks you're going to want none. Broken Wings. Destroy artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. Yeah, I don't think this is very good here. I haven't seen too many artifacts or enchantments, and it's okay. It's obviously good at killing flyers, but 3 mana is kind of a lot, and I just don't think there's enough flyers you could really... It's really a sideboard card is really what it is. So I'm just going to put it there. Beastkin Ranger. 3 mana, 3/3 trample. When another creature under you control enters, this creature gets +1/+0. It's a big thing. Good at killing. I guess if something enters, it has 4 power, so you can get some of those 4 power payoffs. Seems fine. I'd probably C-. Not like so excited to play it, but I guess, is it the best 3-drop? It might be the best 3 common drop. We'll give it a C. 4 mana. Okay. Whoa. It's a freaky looking card. Treetop Snare Spinner. 4 mana, 1/4 reach, Death Touch. Oh. And then 3 mana, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Activate only as a sorcery. Wow. Whoa. This is good. This is a really defensive card. 1/4 Death Touch. And you can put 1/1 counters on stuff. This is a lot of stuff. I'm like, wow, this is really blowing my mind how much this is. So this can just kill anything it blocks. So 4 mana, 1/4 Death Touch. Like, they're gonna have to, like, if they're killing this, like, it's either with a spell. If it's with a creature, like they're using a combat trick, like Sure Strike, or this is killing big creatures and preventing every small creature from attacking. And it blocks flyers super well. And you can put +1/+1 counters on stuff. It's like a great mana sink, which, you know, seems really good. You know, in core sets, usually sometimes you need places to put your mana. Like Llanowar Elves, Llanowar Elves not a problem if you have Treetop Snare Spinner, because you're putting +1/+1 counters on stuff. Yeah, this gets out. This, I'm just gonna give this a B. This seems really good. Am I missing something? I mean, it feels weird to rate the spider that high, but this is just so much more powerful than the normal spiders in the set. Like, the spiders are like, you know, 5 mana 3/5s with reach or something like that. It's fine, but this can be used. The green 2 and a green doesn't tap it. You can just use it. Like, if you have 9 mana, you can just start putting 1/1 counters on stuff. Like, this is like one of the ultimate defensive commons I've ever seen. I like this card a lot. If you couldn't tell. I mean, yes, in red-green, it's not going to be ideal. But even then, like, they have to get around it eventually. Yeah, I like this a lot. Crackling Prowler. 4 mana, 4/3, Ward 2, Morbid. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I guess I'll give it a C. Like, Ward 2's nice. And assuming you play it after a creature died. I mean, if you're really defensive, this is the one. Like, you're going to want this in red-green, maybe over the spider. But in any other green deck, I think you'd prefer... I think even in black-green, you'd prefer the spider. But... yeah, it's fine. I mean, 4 mana, 4/3, Ward 2 is just totally okay. And then the Morbid effect maybe like comes into play sometimes, and it becomes a little bigger. Wow, I really can't get over how good that spider is. Elfsworn Giant, 5 mana, 5/3 reach, landfall, create a 1/1 green elf creature token. This seems okay. 5 mana, 5/3. That just dies really easily. Reach is fine, but it's gonna die. And then the landfall, again, we talked about this with the red creature, but just big creatures with landfall, like you're not gonna get that many triggers. Like if this was a 2-mana whatever 2/2 reach, this card would be great. But you're just you're not usually gonna get the landfall in play, and at that point, like 1/1s aren't very useful. They're fine. It's not like bad, but this card is bad. I think. Give it like a D plus. Let's see if we have a big green creature. Yeah, we do. Okay. Apothecary Stomper. 6 mana, 4/4 vigilance. When this creature enters, choose one. Put 2+1/+1 counters on target creature, not even itself. Or you gain 4 life. Yeah, it seems good. I guess normally, like, the Ravenous Lindworm Honey Mammoth would be a 6 mana 6/6 gain 4 life. So this one you kind of have to pick which one you want. Either this becomes a 4/4 and you gain the life, or you put +1/+1 counters. I think this is better in an aggro deck because you can put the 1/1 counters on a creature and then attack, or you can gain the life. I think this is fine. I'll give it like a C. I think you will play it, but I don't think you're like jumping to play it just because 6 mana 4/4 is like that's not the best. Okay, I guess let's just do these real quickly. Gold Vein Pick. So this is always a hard one to grade. This is a whole deck in Kaldheim. You would get the pick and then you could use it to splash because it's equipped creature gets +1/+1, and then when it deals combat damage, you create a treasure token. So you can you'd attack with flyers and then you would use it to splash. But if that in that set, Gold Vein Pick could be like a B or a B- in the right deck. But on average, it's not great. So I'll give it like a C, and we'll see. It's a really hard one to grade. Very set dependent. Gleaming Barrier, 2/1/04. When it dies, create a treasure token. Seems okay in the Morbid deck, but in general seems bad. I give it like a D+. Campus Guide. 2 mana 2/1. When it enters, you may search your library for basic land and reveal it and put it on top. So this is nice. What I really like about this card, it's really, really good at making sure you're not color screwed. So let's say you're red. Let's say you're red-white and you have 2 red mana, 2 mountains to start. You just play this turn 2 and put a plains on top. And you're not color screwed. And because it's colorless, like you can play it with whatever. So I think it's it's not shameful to play at all, not embarrassing. I'd say it's like a C-. There's a chance it's maybe a little better, but I think this card's better than it looks. Like it looks like a 2 mana 2/1 that's like pretty bad. And then Quick Draw Katana. During your turn, a quick creature gets +2/+0 and has first strike. But it doesn't. Okay, so it's 2 mana and equip is 2. So I thought this maybe like would auto equip for the first time you played it, and it maybe would have flash or something like that. I think with this, I mean, yeah, it's nice to get +2/+0 on first strike, but this is a lot of mana to make that happen. If you're an aggro deck, I don't think you can afford to spend this much mana. And if you're a controlling deck, like you probably have other ways. Like you're just going to kill them from card advantage and big creatures and stuff. So I'm going to give it a D. All right, so looking at the commons, love the Spider. Bacon No Pie's good. Felidar seems good. Yeah, it seems pretty normal. I'd say black looks a little concerning. And I wonder about red. I mean, I did end up putting some red cards higher, but I don't know. Like the fact that all the red 2-drops seem only okay is a little concerning. Like you're just filling it with mediocre 2-drops. But anyway, let's go to the uncommons next. So we'll start. We'll just we'll go through. Joust Through, 1 mana, instant. Joust Through deals 3 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. You gain 1 life. So I guess the you gain 1 life is for the life gain decks. So this is fine if you're flyers, and I guess it provides life gain. We'll have to assume it's pretty good there. In red-white aggro or in green-white counters, it seems pretty mediocre. I guess 1 mana 3 damage is pretty good, but I'm gonna give it a C. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a C, and then in those decks, you'd probably want more, but you're not like, oh my god, we need this. Savannah Lions. Uncommon. 1 mana 2/1. Why did they make this uncommon? Yeah, I mean, okay. 1 mana 2/1's just not that good anymore. I mean, in aggro, it's fine, and I guess it's like a 1-drop to play. I'll put it at C almost because I would have guessed this was common. So if they felt it was necessary to make it uncommon, I think it's a little stronger than I would guess. Maybe it's just because like playing it as a 1-drop is really nice, but I think Healer's Hawk is better. Like almost certainly. So I don't know. I'm gonna put it at C, but it could be a D. There's a chance. Probably not, but there's a chance. All right, Divine Resilience. 1 mana, target creature you control gets indestructible. If the spell was kicked, which is 2 and a white, instead, any number of targets you control gain indestructible until end of turn. It doesn't provide any power or toughness boost. I guess toughness wouldn't matter with indestructible, but I sort of don't think this is that good. For 1 mana, like, that's not usually going to matter. It maybe can counter a removal spell, but not even all removal spells because not all of them kill. And then for the kicker, like, how often are you going to have for... I guess maybe you could, like, use this with a sweeper, and then all your creatures wouldn't die, but then you're using two cards. I think this is pretty bad. I'm going to go D. I don't see it. Maybe there's something I'm missing. Sunblessed Healer. 2 mana, 3/1, lifelink. When this creature enters, and that's kicker for 1 and a white. If it was kicked, return target non-land permanent card with mana 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Wow. This is good. So it's a 2 mana, 3/1 lifelink or a 4 mana, 3/1 lifelink that returns a cheap thing. That is really nice. I'm gonna go like B. This seems great. I really like that a lot. Just good in all decks, but I mean in life gain decks even better. Yeah, I don't know. In aggro, it's great. It just really good card. Youthful Valkyrie. 1 mana or 1 and a white for a 1/3 flyer. When another angel you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. I don't know how many. I don't really notice a ton of angels. There's one. And I guess this Dazzling Angel. Yeah, I mean, if you can put the angels, if you have the angel count, this is fine. Otherwise, it's like a C-. I mean, 2 mana for a 1/3 flyer is bad, but maybe with the slight upside. Even a 2 mana 2/4 flyer. I mean, 2 mana 2/4 is obviously good stats. I guess 1/3, like 2 mana 1/3 is like a normal thing, and so you're saying on a flyer. All right, I'll put it at C. Just, it's a little rough because you want power usually with a cheap flyer. Like you're gonna want to attack or something, but maybe in the right deck, it would work. Resolute Reinforcements, 2 mana, 1/1 flash, and when it enters, it creates a 1/1. This is always pretty good. It's just like, I'll go C+. Just like early game with like mass pump. Although we haven't seen, did I miss something? I haven't seen like the mass pump or at least at an instant speed. I think there was one at there's like Felidar Savior, but even then Resolute Reinforcements is good with that. I mean, if white aggro is a thing, this is like usually one of the top things you want in it. And it can also, yeah, I think it's gonna be good. It's better than it looks. Johnny's Pride Mate, 2 mana, 2/2. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter. I mean, this has to be good this is like C+ because it's really good in the life gain deck. They're gonna want to kill this. 2 mana is really nice. You know, like with Healer's Hawk, oh my god, like it gets out of control. If you don't have life gain, it's not good. Okay, 3 mana. Dauntless Veteran. 1 white. When this creature attacks, creatures you control get +1/+1. Oh. Hello. So this attacks as a 3/3. And it would give everything +1/+1. It has to be this creature. So this does have to attack, which is notable because it doesn't have haste, so it wouldn't be able to do it the turn it enters. I'll go C. There's enough holding this back. Also, the 1 white is relevant, because you don't always have that. And this has to attack, so there's times this is going to be really good, like no doubt. But I think that there's enough holding this card back. I'm going to give it a C. Cat Collector. 2 and a white for a 3/2. Creates a food. And when you gain life for the first time each turn, create a cat. I'll give it a C+. I think just the 3/2 create a food is like probably fine, especially with life gain synergies. And then the cats are just like bonus, kind of. Yeah, so I think that's probably fine. Twin Blade Blessing. 3 mana enchantment flash. Enchant creature has double strike. Okay, so what are we doing with this? So you could like give this to a big creature, I guess, especially if one you have buffed with a bunch of counters. You can kind of use this as a combat trick in the sense of like it gives first strike or double. I mean, you wouldn't want to use this for the creature to immediately die in combat, but giving it first strike, if that's enough, and then you can basically otherwise use this to deal a lot of damage. There's a lot of potential downside though in that like it doesn't let you draw a card or anything. I think this is probably worse than it is good. I'm gonna go D+. I think there's times it's fine, but overall I don't love it. And if they just kill the creature, you're in trouble. Stroke of Midnight. Destroy target non-land permanent. Its control creates a 1/1 white human creature token. Yeah, these are almost never good. I think Stroke of Midnight, the set it was in, it was not very good either. So I'm gonna go D+ again. It's just like, again, creating the 1/1 is not great. I mean, in some ways, like I put Witness Protection down here, and it sort of does something very similar. I guess this can destroy non-land permanent, so it could destroy artifacts, enchantments, which maybe you can get like a little jump on them by like destroying their Banishing Light or something, but on average, I just don't think this is very good. Mischievous Pup. 3/1 flash. When it enters, return up to 1 other target permanent you control to its owner's hand. I think this is pretty good. If I remember correctly, this card was good last time. Just saving something or returning something with an ATB effect. Whatever the case. There's a lot of stuff. And you can always just play it as a 3/1 flash blocker. So I think I'll give it a C+. It's totally fine. 4. We got Angel of Finality. 4 mana, 3/4 flying. When this enters, exile target player's graveyard. So the exile in the graveyard is a relevant factor. Like like if they're trying to play Talarian Terror, like oh my god, this would suck. But I think more relevantly, it's a 4-mana 3/4 flyer, which is really good stats. I mean, that's you know above average, and 3/4 flyer really blocks stuff. I mean, we were talking about 4-mana 3/4 not flyers earlier with some of these cards. So I think just from a pure stat rate, I'm gonna put it at a B. Um, maybe B plus. Probably just B. 5. Claws out. 5-mana instant. It costs 1 less for each cat you control. Creatures you control get +2/+2 until end of turn. Oh, so here's the mass pump effect. I guess there are actually a reasonable amount of cat, and this creates cats. Maybe not as many cats as I thought. Oh, no, there's a cat. Cat. Oh, I didn't realize how many cats there were. I didn't know we had a cat tribal effect. Okay. So, this will cost 5 sometimes, 3 other times. +2/+2 also is kind of like a bigger deal than +2/+1, which is what like Inspiring Charge normally gives. It's uncommon, I think, probably for a reason. Yeah, I think this can be pretty good. I think you probably want like at least a couple cats, but if you do, like, I think you're like, certainly your aggro white decks are definitely gonna want this card. So I'll put it at B-. This might be a little high, but I think it's gonna be good. All right, Sarah Angel, 5-mana 4/4 flying vigilance. Oh man, this used to be good. I mean, just realize this is 1 less mana, and you lose the vigilance and you lose a power, but you gain something too, just to kind of compare. It's still probably just like big and difficult to deal with, so I'll go with like C+, but not what it used to be. And then we have Guarded Air. 6-mana 1/1 lifelink. When this creature enters, create 2 3/3 white knight creature tokens. It does create 3 creatures, so that's pretty good. And one of them has lifelink. I think the problem is when you have 6 mana, like what do you need this for? Like, what are you doing at that point? Like, you want a big creature to get through. Creating a lot of creatures that late isn't always as good. So I'm going to give it a C. And I think it's probably not going to be a C. It'll probably either be much better or much worse. Okay, let's do blue. Man, I get why limited resources, they only do the commons and uncommons. Spectral Sailor. 1 mana, 1/1 flash flyer, and then for 4 mana you can draw a card. Yeah, this card's always good. This card, yeah, I think it was like a B. On turn 1, it does a lot of damage, and then later in the game you can draw cards using it. I think it's good in like the blue-white flyers deck. It'll be good late game in like a blue-green deck. It'll let you draw cards using all that mana. Blue-red, it's just fine as a flyer, and blue. Yeah, it's just a good card. Offer you can't refuse. Blue mana, counter target non-creature spell. Its controller creates 2 treasure tokens. Yeah, I think this is pretty bad. Early game, you just can't play this spell. Like, giving them 2 treasure tokens is almost certainly worse than whatever they were going to do otherwise. And then late game, this is fine, but also like negate would just be better, and you don't mind having 2 mana up instead of 1. So negate is often not playable, and this card is extra not playable. So I think this is just an F. All right, for 2, Mischievous Mystic. 2 mana, 2/1 flyer. Whenever you draw the second card each turn, create a 1/1 blue fairy creature token with flying. Wow. Okay, so 2 mana, 2/1 flyer is fine, and then you can draw cards and then create more flyers. That seems great. I'm gonna go B on that one. Maybe B minus. We'll go B minus, but ugh, this is an annoying card to deal with. Essence Scatter at uncommon. 1 in a blue, counter target creature spell. I mean, Essence Scatter is always good. They made it uncommon this time, I guess probably because it would be like one of the best commons. I'll go B. We'll go C plus. It's usually a C plus. Maybe in the set it's extra good, but it's either C plus or B minus. Brianborn Cutthroat, 2 mana, 2/1 flash. Whenever you cast a spell during your opponent's turn, ++1/+1 counter. This card's usually fine. I guess with the amount of instants, maybe it could be a C plus. Yeah, I mean there's some. I'm gonna go down to C. It's just okay. You kind of need to. I mean, it'll block, but you kind of need to have it grow several times again because of the one toughness thing. So that's a little rough. Rune Sealed Wall. 3 mana 06 Defender. Tap to Surveil 1. Okay. So the Sealed Wall, it'll hold them off for a while. Surveil is good. I guess it puts stuff in the graveyard for you. And it can like help you draw what you need. But there's still no way you'd want more than one of these. Alright, I'll put C minus just because 06 is just a lot of toughness, and maybe the Surveil is better, is pretty good, especially in like blue black. But again, there's like no way you'd want more than one of these. Right, Inspiration from Beyond. 3 mana sorcery. Mill 3 cards, then return instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. That seems fine. And then flashback for 7. Sorry, I should mention that. Seems okay. You get back an instant or sorcery. I mean, you get the right thing back. It's fine. If you mill it, you can flash it back, which could really get you what you want. This could be really good, but I think it's just a C minus. It's a lot of wheel spinning a little bit, or it's a lot of wheel spinning, and flashing back is 7 mana. Like what are these decks that have time to spend 7 mana on that, especially at sorcery speed? Fey Bloom Trick. 3 mana instant, create 2/1/1 phase with flyer, and then tap at a creature an opponent controls. This seems good. I think it's like a B minus. I mean, you prevent an attack, you create a phase to block them. This seems very good defensively. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is instant. I like this card a lot. Cephalid Ink Mage. 3 mana 2/2. When it enters, Surveil 3. Wow. Okay. And then it can't be blocked with Threshold, as long as there are 7 more cards in the graveyard. So 3 mana 2/2 Surveil 3 is nice. I mean, it certainly helps you get to Threshold. The stats are a little underwhelming, but it seems solid. I'll give it like a C plus. I think you'll then like get to draw. I mean, it's gonna be tough against aggro decks, but in blue black control it'll be nice. In blue green, I mean, it'll help you draw what you want. In blue red, it helps you get. Maybe it's a C. I'll give it a C, but it could be better. It has potential, but I think there is like the potential also of it just being like out aggroed. Imprisoned in the Moon. 2 and a blue. Enchant creature, land, or planeswalker. Enchant permanent is a colorless land with tap for colorless mana. It loses all other types and abilities. So this was a rare at one point, and it was downgraded, I think, to a common at one, like for a remastered set, and it was still pretty bad. I mean, giving them a land, I guess late game it's okay, but early game it sucks. So I'm just gonna go D plus. Maybe it'll be a little better than I thought, but I'd be worried about it. Quant Sky Mage, 4 mana, 1/1 flyer. When you draw a card, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. Okay, so there are a lot of ways to draw cards. So admittedly, like, you know, this could get out of hand quickly, but just the downside is you play this turn, the turn it's played, it's a 1/1 flyer, doesn't matter. It's not gonna block, I guess, but not too bad. Next turn, it's at least a 2/2. At which point, that's a little disappointing. And then the next turn, it's a 3/3, which is just like the normal stats for it. And then it starts. That's really slow. So I think if you're just playing this without a lot of card draw, you're doing this wrong. If you do have a lot of card draw, on the other hand, then that's great. That's much better. But I think you really need to make sure that you're doing some good stuff with this. I'll say a C, but just be careful. Like, you probably want one of these. I guess the problem is, like, you either want like 2+ of these or you don't want it. But yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting card. Micromancer. 4 mana, 3/3. When this creature enters, you may search your library instant for an instant or sorcery card with mana value 1. Reveal it, put in your hand, then shuffle. Okay, so this card is really good. It's just search your library. So let's just look at the 1 mana instants and sorcery so far. So in blue, we have Fleeting Distraction. Okay, that's fine. We have Fleeting Distraction, and I guess an offer you can't refuse. But just in black, we have Eaten Alive and Stab. In red, we have Burst Lightning. In green, there's Bushwhack, Giant Growth. Oh, it's yeah, okay. And then in white, there's Joust Through, Fleeting Flight. You get any of these, like, you're in great shape. That's really awesome. This is just a 2-for-1. It's just a 3/3 that does this for you, and you can fetch like anything. Like this card is really good. This is a really, really good card. I like this card a lot. Just make sure you have like a couple things. I would say, like, if you have 3, you're fine. If you have 2, I'd still definitely play it. 1, you might start getting nothing. But this is like, I mean, this could be even a B+. I'd say this is like a B+. This card is really, really good. And then Etherize, instant. Return all attacking creatures to their owner's hands. So it's like that white card, but instead of removing them, it returns them. I mean, this is gonna suck when you're an aggro deck and they play this against you. Oh, this seems really annoying. Okay. So this is a really defensive card. And if they're controlling, this is not going to be very good. But if they're aggressive, like if they're red-white or red-black or something, like, oh my god, is this card going to be difficult to deal with. And I'm going to hate every time I play a blue opponent and I'm aggro. I'm just like, I have 4 mana up. What do I even do? But there's just times where this card's like, if you could take out the bottom 10% of times that this card would have, which is like against a controlling deck where they're not really attacking you, this card would be like a B or B-. But I think there's just sometimes this card's gonna suck. I'll go C. Yeah, I think C. Oh man. I would almost say sideboard, but I think it's probably it's just there are some decks. It's really this is gonna be the best card you could have in the whole game against certain opponents. So I give it a C. I really have no idea how it's gonna play out. It'll really just depend on how aggressive this format is. Skyship Buccaneer, 5 mana, 4/3 flying, and if you're attacked, draw a card. Wow. Okay. That seems really good. Definitely gonna want to attack. But I mean, even a 5 mana 4/3 is not like that bad, or 4/3 flyer. Sorry, but I think this is like a B minus. I mean, if it drew a card every time, it'd be a B. But I think you're like pretty close to that. It'd probably be like a B plus actually. Arcane Epiphany costs 1 less to cast if you control a wizard. Okay, so it's only up to it's either 4 mana or 5 mana, and it's draw 3 cards. Yeah, I mean that seems solid. I think I'll just go like C plus. You know, there's chances format's too slow, but if you can make it 4 mana, which I imagine there's a decent amount of wizards, right? If they bothered to do that, no, there's one. Okay, there's a few wizards around there, but anyway, yeah, I think 5 mana is still okay. Three cards is a lot, so I'd say C plus. Maybe it's a little better if the format's really slow. Grappling Kraken. 6 mana, 5/6 landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, tap target creature an opponent controls and put a stun counter on it. Oh my god. Wow. Okay. So everything I said about landfall with big creatures still applies, but I don't think it matters. I think this card's just good anyway. So something you think about if you have 6 mana, like you play a 6 mana 5/6. It's a little understated, but if you don't have any cards in hand, like you're gonna draw either a spell, in which case great, you play the spell because you have 6 mana, and if you draw a land, then you essentially drew a spell that says tap target creature, put a stun counter on it, which is great on offense and still very good on defense. So it makes all your draws, like your land draws, like spells kind of. And that's not even including like if you just like let's say you still have a bunch of cards in hand, like because you drew 3 cards, you then like the lands can start doing that and you can still cast spells. If heaven forbid you use it with the growth from ashes with kicked and you just put 2 spells in play, it doesn't say anything about just once, right? Yeah, I think this is just good. Like you're gonna really be scared when your opponent plays this. So I think this is just a B. Self-reflection. 6 mana, create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, but it flashes back for 4 mana. Okay, so 6 mana token is bad. If you can get this in the graveyard, 4 mana for doing it like without like using a card is pretty good. But how are you getting in the graveyard? I guess you do have a decent amount of loot in blue and maybe some mill. I'm gonna start with this being like a C minus, and there's a chance I'll let it beat me first. Let's put it that way. But I do think that there is some potential here. But if you're hard casting this, it's pretty bad. All right, we'll go to black uncommons. Diregraph Ghoul. 1 mana, 2/2, enters tapped. In general, I think this is not good enough. I'll just go like D+. Again, the tapped is pretty bad. 1 mana, I mean, it's fine. Like, obviously, turn 1, this is a good play, but turn 2 or later, you'd almost rather it be a 2 mana, 2/2 that not enter tapped. So, yeah, I don't think it's very good. Vengeful Blood Witch. 2 mana, 1/1. Whenever this creature or another creature you control dies, target opponent loses, you drain them. Again, this is okay, but the 2 mana 1/1's a problem. Like, this isn't blocking anything early. and it's not attacking, and it's like, yeah, cool, it's a drain. Like, I think this would be better as an enchantment, even though it can't, like, because the 1/1's worthless. I think it's like a D plus again. I hate this because black's my favorite color, but it just looks bad so far. I mean, maybe some uncommons will make it better. Vampire Gourmand. All right, 2 mana, 2/2. Whenever this creature attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, draw a card, and this creature can't be blocked. Okay, I think this is pretty good. 2 mana, 2/2 is fine. If you have stuff to sacrifice, like being able to attack and then sack like a cheap creature and draw a card so I guess let's put it this way. Being able to sacrifice a cheap creature for free and drawing a card is good. That's definitely good. And the fact this can't be blocked is really nice because then you can keep doing it. The problem is if you're defensive, what are you doing? Like, you're losing a blocker. And potentially 2 blockers because you're sacrificing a creature. So you want to do it in a more aggressive deck where you actually want to be attacking with this anyway. So I think in red-black with enough cheap creatures, like if you were red-black raid with cheap creatures, this is fantastic. And if you're green-black, you're hopefully okay attacking, in which case this is still fine. And then blue-black and black-white, you probably don't want this very much, or at least it's not very useful. So I'll give it a C+, mostly based on its upside, but just be careful. It's not always good. Reassembling Skeleton. 2 mana, 1/1, return to the battlefield tap. Yeah, this is usually very good. Great to sacrifice. This is exactly the kind of thing the Morbid deck wants. So I think this is like a B-, considering like the Morbid deck. I mean, I guess in some decks it's not super great, but even then it's like a good blocker. It's only 2 mana to reassemble. Yeah, I'll leave it at a B-. But there's some decks where, like, I think in green-black this could be like a B+. Like, you might desperately need this. This is like, you know, in green-black Morbid you need payoffs, you need stuff to sacrifice, you need ways to sacrifice. And this is the best thing to sacrifice by far. So just realize you need all 3 of those parts, and just because like this is just as important. So as the payoffs and the ways to sacrifice. So I think this is really good. Exanguinate. X black. Each opponent loses X life. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. I think this is just bad. I mean, maybe I mean, like, in what world, like, so as a way to make them lose life, fine, but it's, I mean, 5 mana they lose 3 life, 7 mana they lose 5 life. Like, this is just not, it's not a good rate. And then gaining life, I mean, unless your payoffs like maybe whenever you gain life they lose life. Like, is there that thing? Whenever you gain life, each opponent, they only lose 1 life when you gain life. So it's not like it just counts as 1 life gain, one instance of life gain. So if you're defensive and you're using this as a way to gain life, this is horrible because you're not, like, you need to help your board. I guess if you've stabilized and you're just using this to prevent, like, getting burnt, it's good. But I think this is just pretty bad. Like, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to give it a D. Like, I just don't really see what situation are you happy. Like, there's a couple situations where it wins you the game, but, like, other than if they're at 3 life and you have 5 mana and you can kill them, and you weren't going to be able to kill them otherwise, like, this is not a good card. Okay. Anyway. Black seeming really bad. Alright. 3 mana sorcery. Either target opponent discards 2 cards, or creatures your opponent control get -1/-1 till end turn. Yeah, I think this is a good card. So 3 mana discard 2 is not usually something you want, but it's definitely playable. And if it's like their last 2 cards, fantastic. And they're controlling, for example. If they're aggro, you'll want the -1/-1 thing. I guess since it's a sorcery, it's a little tough because they would need to have 1 drop. They would need to have 1 toughness creatures. If you're aggressive and you attack them, they could like lose the -1/-1. I guess it being a sorcery is a little. If this was an instant, it'd be really good, but it would be probably broken if it was an instant. I guess probably like a C plus. I think there's enough combos. It might be a C, but I'm gonna give it a C plus. I'm gonna believe a little bit, and I think there's just enough combinations of these that you'll be okay with either one in every situation or almost every situation. Midnight Snack. 3 mana enchantment. Raid. At the beginning of your end step, if you attacked, create a food. Sacrifice this enchantment. Target opponent loses X life, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. Okay, so it's a 3 mana enchantment, and whenever you attack, it's going to start creating food. And then I guess the idea is that later in the game, you can like spend whatever. Like if let's say you have 9 mana or something, you spend 6 of that, gaining 9 life, and then do this to make them lose 9 life. So it's like a long game kind of card. And then also it does, I guess, have some life gain synergies with attacking and stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. There's going to be times where it's not great. How many food tokens do you need before this becomes okay? I guess like only 2 or 3. And if this was 3 mana, create 3 food tokens, and then that ability, I suppose you would probably play it. All right, I'll give it a C. It could be really good. There's like a chance this is the best black uncommon, given the right situation, but there is also I think this is probably going to at least be playable, but it could be a little bit worse than this. Yeah, I'm just gonna give it a C, and if it's better than that, it's better than that. All right, Infernal Vessel, 3 mana, 2/1. When this creature dies, if it wasn't a demon, return it to the battlefield under its own control with 2 +1/+1 counters. It's a demon. So this is a 3 mana, 2/1 that, if it dies, comes back as a 4/3. Wow, that's pretty good. Yeah, I really like that. Okay, I think this is like a B. Maybe a B minus. No, I think it's just a B. This is just good stats. Like what? 2/1 is fine. Like, I mean, I'm not 3 mana 2/1 is understated, but it can block and it's 2 power. Like, you can't just let it attack you forever. And then it comes back as a 4/3. It's great for sacrificing. Like, what deck doesn't want this? Yeah, no, I'm all in. Yeah, B. That looks great. Vampire Nighthawk. 1 black, so but 3 mana, 2/3, flying, death touch, and lifelink. Whew, oh boy. Well, this is great. I think this is a reprint. I've never played with this card before. I just don't think I've played with any sets with it. But I think people always talk about how good this card is. And I see why. Because it's great at blocking, it kills everything, and if it attacks, you just can't let it through because it's dealing 2 damage of lifelink, and it's pretty hard to block. So it's just sort of everything you'd want in one card. I think the black's a little annoying, but honestly, if this was 4 mana, I think it would still be playable. So, like, if it was 2 black, we wouldn't really be complaining about the mana. I think this is like a B plus. This looks unbelievable. So, I might not like the rest of black, but if I get enough of these, I'll be black. Stormkirk Blood Thief, 3 mana, 2/2. At the beginning of your end step, if your opponent lost life, put a +1/+1 counter on target vampire you control. It is a vampire. I mean, if they've lost life, it's just a 3 mana 3/3. I remember this card existed in a set I've played, but I just can't remember if it was any good. It looks decent. I'll give it a C plus. I think like you just have to consistently be able to get it. Like in blue black, it's not gonna be very good, but in black red, I think it's good, and in black white, I think it's probably fine. I think it's probably made for black white, to be honest, because like you'll have stuff to make them lose life from gaining your own life. All right, Hero's Downfall. Okay, well, I believe it's one black black, destroy target creature or planeswalker, and it's an instant. So that's gonna be good. We'll just go with like B minus. I think that's definitely fine. Um, given the set. Okay, 4 mana, Revenge of the Rats. Sorcery, create 1/1 black rat creature token for each creature card in your graveyard and has flashback for 2 black black. So if you're Threshold, which is what you probably need to be, you get a lot of creature, or Morbid, I suppose. I guess either one of those is going to do it. I mean, if this was 4 mana, create 4 rats, and you did it a second time, I think this would be solid. I think if this was 6 rats, it's great. So, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't play this in black-red, and I wouldn't play it in white-black, but I think if you're playing it in the other ones, it's like a B-. It's a good card. Billowing Shriekmass. 4 mana, 2/3 flyer. When it enters, mill 3 cards. In Threshold, it gets +2/+1. So, if you have Threshold, it's a 4 mana, 4/4 flyer, which is definitely good. 4 mana, 2/3 flyer, mill 3 is okay. I mean, it's a little understated, but the milling will probably help you, almost certainly. So yeah, I think I'll put it at like a C+. I think the milling, I'm counting on the milling doing a little. I think if you said it's a 4 mana 2/3 that can become a 4/4, okay, it would be a C. Like it could become a 4/4 flyer some of the time, it would be a C. But I think the milling along with other stuff is good enough that I think it's a C+. Zombify. 4 mana, sorcery, return her creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Oh, so instead of 5, it's going to be 4 now. I guess with the right combo of like getting stuff in the graveyard easily, I still think this is just a C- though. It's a sorcery. It's only your graveyard. You got to get stuff in there. I just think there's sometimes this card's dead for a while, so yeah, I think there's enough downsides. It's still just a C-. Tragic Banshee. 5 mana, 5/3 Morbid. When this creature enters, target creature and opponent controls gets -1/-1 until end turn. If a creature died this turn, that creature gets -13, -13 instead. Okay. If this was 5 mana, 5/3... Okay, so if this was 5 mana, 5/3... -13, -13, what would this be? This would be like a B? A B-? Probably a B. What's Howling Chupacabra is like a 2/2, and it's really good. This maybe bad. Maybe probably be a B+, honestly. If it was -13, -13. Now it's not always going to be -13, -13. -1/-1 will sometimes kill something. I guess. I mean, usually I was gonna say if you attack, you could like finish off the last little bit with the -1/-1, but if they have 1 power toughness up, that means they block and killed one of your creatures, so it'll just kill it. I guess against aggro decks where you're not gonna be able to attack and kill stuff, this works pretty well. Like they're gonna have 1 toughness creatures to just kill. If you're black-red, this seems unbelievable because you're going to be attacking and they're going to be blocking. If you're green-black and you have ways to sacrifice, this is still good because you're going to be able to trigger it. Although, probably still better in black-red because it's a 5/3. And then, if you're blue-black, it's not great. And if you're white-black, it's not great. So I'm going to give it a B just based... I'm going to give it a B-. In red-black, it's like a B+. But it's sometimes just not super great. All right, Arbiter of Woe. 6 mana, 5/4 flying. You also have to sacrifice a creature. And then... when this creature enters, Each opponent discards a card, loses 2 life, and you draw a card and gain 2 life. Whoa, okay. That's better than I thought. But you have to sacrifice something. I guess sometimes sacrificing can be a positive. You have the right stuff. And then in that case, that's great because they're discarding a card and losing 2 life. I think this is like a C+, maybe? B-. I mean, you can't even play it if you don't have a creature. But when you do play it, you'll be happy. I'll go C+. Alright, just wanted to make sure. Alright, we'll go red and then green and we're done. Or I guess we gotta do artifacts too. Okay, Bolt Wave. Red deals 3 damage to each opponent. Probably not good. We'll go with D+. I mean, finishes them off, sure, but not... it's just too narrow. You can't play this kind of card. Sometimes it's just not going to do anything. Frenzied Goblin. 1 mana, 1/1. When this creature attacks, you may pay red. If you do, target creature can't block this turn. So, not allowing them to block early seems nice, but I think paying the red is a lot early. In late game, it's fine, but it's a little too small game. I think like a C-. I think it's probably either a C or a D in the sense of it's probably either like fine, you'll play it sometimes, or it's bad. I'll give it C- for now. Slumbering Cerebus. 2 mana 4/2 that doesn't untap during its untap step, but at the beginning of each end step, if a creature died this turn untap. So it's not your end step, it's each end step. So if you're red aggressive, so if you're red control, if you're somehow red and you're not attacking, this is great because you're not attacking with it. And you can just hold it off. The problem is that red seems like a very aggressive color. I think maybe red-green you're not like the most aggressive. And in which case, I think in red-green this card is actually really good because it has 4 power as well. But in red aggressive, I guess this just deals damage early, and it's like a build. It can always attack. So for raid, it's gonna be good, and maybe they don't block it, but then you got an attack in, and that seems nice. And also, you can probably sacrifice stuff. This is a really hard card to grade. I'm gonna go build around B. I think you need the right combination of things. Like you just need to be able to either consistently sacrifice or kill their stuff or be defensive, which is rare. But if that happens, like this is a good card. It's hilarious that it's in red, and if it was in any other color, I think it would be better. I think if this was a black card, this would be like black's best uncommon or something. Maybe not, but it would be good. Goblin Negotiation. X red. Deals X damage to our creature. Create a number of 1/1 equal to the amount of excess damage dealt to that creature. So, excess damage. So, for like 5 mana, you deal 3 damage to something. If it kills it, you'd create extra tokens equal to the excess damage. So, early, this is pretty bad. I think this is pretty bad. Like, I guess you can kill something really cheap. Like, if they have a 1/1, you spend 7 mana, kill it, and you create 4 1/1s. So it's 7 mana, kill a 1/1, create 4 1/1s. And that's, like, best case scenario. Yeah, it seems bad. I'm going to go D+. Bulk Up. 2 mana instant. Double target creature's power till end of turn, but with a 6 mana flashback. That's a lot to flash back, but I guess you're just kind of saying, like, I'll win the game, and you just have it in your graveyard. The threat of activation is pretty real. The initial instant is bad, is the problem. It's good with prowess creatures, I suppose, because it doubles them. It prowess triggers first. I'm gonna say C minus. Like, I think that there's gonna be times this is really annoying, but in general, it's not a normal combat trick, I guess is the way I'd put it. It's like a way to, like, cheese them out. I guess you can quadruple. Yeah, so you can do stuff. You can do stuff like quadruple it, and they won't see it coming for 8 mana and stuff. So I get it, but I'm gonna go with C minus. I don't think you want like 2 or 3 of these probably in most decks. Heartfire Emulator. 1 in a red for a 2/2 prowess. Sacrifices creature, deals damage equal to its target creature. Power to target creature, planeswalker. Yeah, this is a great card. Sorry, I read it fast because I've seen it several times. This is like a B. And 2 mana 2/2 prowess already is really good. And then being able to sacrifice it and deal damage to a creature equal to its power. I mean, it can have like 4 or 5 power if you trigger enough prowess stuff. I mean, just imagine attacking with this. They block with like a 6 drop. You sure strike this, and it deals first strike damage to kill it. And then you could, before regular damage deals, if they blocked another creature with another big creature, you could then sacrifice this to deal 6 damage to that creature. Like, this can be such a blowout. This card is great. This is the 2-drop you want. Like, you could take as many of these as you could. A Braid. 1 in a red. Choose 1. Deal 3 damage or destroy target artifact. This is a good card. This is always good. B minus. I mean, the artifact's probably not as relevant in this set, but still 2 mana, deal 3 damage is good. Fiery Annihilation. 3 mana. Deals 5 damage to our creature, and then exile up to 1 target equipment attached to that creature. If that creature would die this turn, exile it. I think, again, B minus. I don't think the equipment thing really matters very much. My guess is that's for constructed, and the idea just sort of being like this will always be there as an answer to equipment. But 5 mana target creature and exile it is like perfect. Exactly what you want. Really, really good card. Take like basically as many copies as I can get. Maybe it's just a B. Yeah, I'm going to put it at B. Seismic Rupture. 3 mana, deals 2 damage to each creature without flying. Probably not good. It's always funny because, like, if this was in green, it would be much better. Or in blue. Whatever. It's just, the point is, like, red is exactly the wrong color because it has all these small creatures without flying. So you're usually killing your own board. And then, like, you're no guarantee. I guess we'll just put it in the sideboard. Really, that's when you're going to play it. You'll bring it in from the sideboard against a more aggressive deck. Fire Spitter Whelp. 3 mana, 2/2 flyer. Whenever you cast a non-creature or dragon spell, deal 1 damage to the opponent. I think this is fine. I'd say it's like a C. I mean, in the blue-red deck, you probably want this better than a C. I don't think there's that many dragons, so I don't think that part's very relevant. I sort of think this set is going to have a lot of, like, covering their bases because they're just printing stuff that theoretically will be good later with other things. So, like, they want this to be good with dragons. So if you do some kind of, like, dragon, later on there's a dragon whatever deck, instant sorcery deck, like, this card will still be good. But for our sakes, just blue-red, it's good. Everything else, it's probably okay. Maybe black-red will have enough spells that it's okay. Yeah, I mean, think about Firebrand Archer. It's definitely better than that. But this card was pretty bad. So Brazen Scourge. 3 mana, 3/3 haste. No, it's 1 red. But I think this is fine. I'd say a C. I think if it was 2 red, it would be a C+. But 1 red can be tough sometimes. Okay, 4 mana. We have Strongbox Raider. 4 mana, 5/2 raid. When this creature enters, if you attack this turn, exile the top 2 cards, choose one of them. Until the end of your next turn, you may play that card. So you have to have attacked when this enters, but then you get to kind of like look at your top 2 and draw one, mostly. Yeah, it seems fine. I mean, this seems like pretty good. like pseudo top end, and it's a 5/2. Like they're not gonna they're gonna have to block it. I'll say C plus. I think you probably want like this is probably a better 4-drop than most of the other ones. Would be my guess. Seems like red has good top end, but I'm a little like you could just get like 4 of these. Like you're so maybe I'm gonna move this to B plus. I think based on that. I think the idea being that the 2-drops in red are just not very good at common, but the top end is really good. You know, you have like these really strong creatures. So if you just get some good 2-drops, like you're set. So I think getting this Heartfire Immolator, which is a great 2-drop, would just really help the rest of your red deck come together. Battlesong Berserker, 4 mana for a 3/4. Whenever you attack, target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains menace till end of turn. Again, another good card. So this is essentially a 4/4 menace for 4 if you want it to. And this is whenever you attack. This is not just when it attacks. So this is a good card. This effect's always good. I mean, think about Most Valuable Slayer in this set, and that's a 2/3. This is a 3/4. So I think this is just a B. This seems great. Oh god. Hidetsugu's Second Right. 4 mana instant. If target player has exactly 10 life, Hidetsugu's Second Right deals 10 damage to that player. I just can't imagine this is anything but an F. Maybe there's like weird ways you can exactly guarantee they get 10 life. In which case, cool. But there's just so often this is a dead card. If they go down to 9, they just lose it. This is meant for constructed. And it's honestly probably meant for like random like jank constructed at that. So don't play that card. Dragon Trainer. 5 mana, 1/1. When this enters, creates a 4/4 dragon creature token with flying. Yeah, this seems good. I mean, if you can like somehow like if you can what's it called? Mischievous Pup this back and then play it again to create another 1/1. Without another 4/4 without losing the first one. That's great. But I mean, 5 mana for a 1/1 plus a 4/4 flyer is just really nice. I would not hate on that card at all. Shivan Dragon. Oh, hey. Really call back here. 6 mana, 5/5 flyer, and with fire breathing. This creature gets +1/+0 till end of turn. So this is funny because this used to be like the best card in the game, or the best creature in the game, I guess. People would trade Shivan Dragons for, whatever, Ancestral Recalls or stuff like that, which this card's obviously be unbelievably busted now. The problem is that creatures continued to get better and spells got worse from the beginning of the game. It's like from, I think, the first set. Now, I think this card is fine. I guess you have to deal with it. Like, it's just like, you can't let this stay. Like, if it attacks you, if you let it through, it can hit you for, 8, 9 damage, so it kills you pretty quickly. And it's a big flyer, so I think it's probably like a B. Wow, they have a lot of good uncommons. Yeah, I think I'll just give it a B. It's kind of probably a little sad for some people that the best creature in the game at one point is now just a B, but that's how it be. All right, green. Wildwood Scourge. Oh, X in a green for Hydra. And there's X 1/1 counters. Whenever one or more 1/1 counters are put on another non-Hydra creature you control, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So that does happen. I mean, it's green-white. That will happen. But without that, X in a green for a Hydra is probably bad. Like 5 mana for a 4/4 is not good. 6 mana for a 5/5. Even 8 mana for a 7/7 is not good. If you put 1/1 counters on it, it gets bigger, but also, like, who cares? I mean, I guess if you're just putting it all over the place, it gets really big. You could play it as like a 2 mana 1/1 and then just like immediate. Like if you have the Unicorn out, you play this for a 2 mana 1/1, just play a bunch of other creatures and it's gonna quickly grow. But it doesn't have trample. It doesn't have like mana. It doesn't have anything else. It's just like a big body. So think if this had trample, I'd like it a lot more. As is, I almost want to say like a C minus or D. I think I'm gonna go like D plus. This just seems bad. Snakeskin Veil. Oh, they finally made it uncommon. Put a +1/+1 creature, +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It gains hexproof till end of turn. Yeah, this card's always really good. I'm gonna give it like, I think I'm gonna give it a C plus. This is really, this was the like one of the best commons in OTJ. It's just like really nice to be able to just like save your stuff. I love this card. Maybe it's only a C, but I think the fact that they made it uncommon shows you that it's good. I'm gonna go. I think C plus. It's fine. All right. Mild Mannered Librarian. Green for a 1/1. 4 mana. This creature becomes a werewolf. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on it, and you draw a card. Activate only once. Okay, so a 5 mana 3/3 draw card is fine. It's okay. Yeah, I guess it's like okay as is. So you'd pay 4 mana, like you play it turn 1, and then turn 4, I mean, you'd be attacking with it, I guess, or you use it to block, and then you can do this at instant speed. I think it's fine. It's a little overcosted, but I guess you have some flexibility, so I'll give it like a C. Yeah, okay. Nessian Hornbeetle. That's Inspiring Call. Nessian Hornbeetle. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control another creature with power 4 or greater, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Yeah, this card's just good. I'm going to give it like a B. I've played with this. It was in Theros Beyond Death, and it was really nice in that set. Just cheap creature. You always, I think with the 4 power deck, you're always looking for cheap stuff because you need power 4 or greater. So this is, like, most things that have power 4 or greater are big creatures, so you're looking for small stuff like this, and this is a great 2-drop in that deck. So, and even in, like, I mean, any green deck is gonna have big creatures in it. Like, but green red obviously would be the best for it. But green blue still fine, and green black, and I mean even green white. Like, you'll have 1/1 counters. So I think this is just good. I'm just give it a B. Did I miss something? No. Okay. We'll go to 3 and Reclamation Sage. 2 and a green. Enters, destroy target artifact or enchantment. I haven't seen like too many artifacts and enchantments around. But usually this is just pretty good. I'll give it a C plus just because I can't remember that many artifacts and enchantments just hanging out. But I mean, this is a 2-for-1 in that case. Like, in which case that's fantastic. And you know, if it's not, it's a 3 mana 2/1. Inspiring Call. Instant. Draw a card for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. Those creatures gain indestructible until end of turn. Okay. Really all or nothing card here. I mean, I guess it's solid. Yeah, I mean, if you have a lot of +1/+1 counters, it can be, I guess, what, 3 mana, like, draw 4 cards and prevent things from dying. You could use this in response to a removal spell, but also they could just, like, also this could do nothing. I'll go, like, build around B minus. It's just maybe C plus. I think build around C plus. It's really good when it's good, but even in that deck, like with +1/+1 counters, it's not always a guarantee that it's gonna do good stuff. Like, you have one creature and you could basically use this as like 3 mana, give something indestructible, draw a card, and it might not even be the thing you wanted to give indestructible. Like, It's just not. Yeah, it's too much of a downside. Right. Garrick's Uprising. If you control when it enters, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. Creatures you control trample. Whenever creatures you control power 4 or greater enters, draw a card. Look, if you have the 4 power stuff, great. This is like fine. This is pretty good, I guess. But I'm gonna give it a C. I think in the red-green deck it'll be better and it's nice, but it's also like you like take a break from beating them down to like draw a card, which is not really what you're looking for in that deck very often. So it's good, but not great. Blanchwood Armor. All right. Enchant creature. It's 2 and a green. Enchant creature. Enchant creature gets +1/+1 for each forest you control. Yeah, I think this is just like a D-. Like maybe in in a mono green deck it's good, but otherwise you have like 2 or 3 forests. It's not gonna be good. Felling Blow. 2 and a green for a sorcery. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Then that creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature an opponent controls. Wow, like power creep. Didn't like at one point it was 4 mana, put a +1/+1 and fight? This is 3 mana and bite. Yeah, I mean this is good. I guess there's the instant that does this, but it's not a 1/1 counter. It's +1/+1 until end of turn. I mean I guess I'll go B-, but this seems great. Exactly what you want. Eager Truffle Snout. 2 and a green for a 4/2 boar with trample, and when it deals combat damage to a player, create a food token. Seems great in the green-red deck. 3 mana 4/2, 4 power creature. Yeah, I like this. I'll go C+. I think this is like a really good like 4/2 you'd want to play. Being able to give you food seems really good. Like certainly defends well, attacks well. Maybe it's better. No, I think it's a C+. I think it's you're not going out of your way to play these. Not like, oh my god, I got Truffle Snout, I need to be green, but I think you'll play as many of these as you can get. Dwynen Giltleaf Dane. 4 mana, 3/4 reach. Other elves you control get +1/+1, and whenever it attacks, you gain 1 life for each attacking elf you control. So when it attacks, you gain at least 1 life because it's an elf itself. 4 mana, 3/4 reach that when you attacked gain 1 life would be a C, maybe a C-. You just have a few other elves, it's buffing them, and you start to gain more stuff. I don't think there's like a ton of elves. I certainly wouldn't like build around elves because of this. There's like a few elves, so I think if you have some elves, I'll give it a C, basically, because I'm like, okay, if you have some elves, it's like a C+, but if you don't, it's probably a C-. Yeah, it's fine. Elvish Regrower, speaking of elves. 4 mana, 4/3 elf. When this creature enters, return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Well, that's really good. Target permanent, it's not even a creature. Step aside, Gravedigger. It's 4 mana, 2/2 with this ability. I mean, this seems like a B. I'm gonna go with B. It could be B+. This 4 mana 4/3 is like not like that's like a C-, D+, but just return like this is really insane rate. I don't know. Maybe it's a B. I'll go B. But wow, it's crazy. Overrun. 2 green. Creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain trample until end of turn. I mean, when you're behind, this card sucks, but it can just kill them out of nowhere. Like if you're at parity and you both have a big board, this is the best card to draw of anything. Just blanket statement. And if you're ahead, this is still a very good card, but when you're behind, this card is the worst. It does nothing. I guess I guess you could be behind in the sense of like you have a big board, but they're about to kill you, and so you draw this, and it just gives you enough to kill them. I'll give it a C, but when you draw it, it's never a C. It's either like an A, B, or an F. All right, Needle Tooth Pack. 5 mana, 4/5, Morbid. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died, put 2+1/+1 counters on her creature you control. Wow. Okay. Well, that seems really good. You can even play this after combat, and they don't know it's coming. And you can put it on itself. This seems really good. I'm gonna give this like a B. I think the idea, like, just again, you can trigger this by surprise the first time. If you have Morbid payoffs, I mean, in black green with the right deck, this is a B plus. This is an A minus in the right kind of deck. I think blue green's probably the worst place for it. If you're just like really defensive, it's not ideal, but I'm gonna give this B plus actually. I think I've talked myself into B plus, and just like keep in mind if it's blue green, like you're not doing anything with stuff dying. Like, don't. You still would play this, but it just wouldn't be as good. Okay, and we'll just take this off. Okay, so Affectionate Indrik, 6 mana. 6 mana, 4/4. When it enters, you may have it fight target creature you don't control. Yeah, I mean, this used to be like the best. I think this was like the best green uncommon in Guilds of Ravnica when it came out, or close to it. Now, I think it's like a C plus. Like, you're probably killing like a weak thing and it's staying alive, or you're like trading. You don't really want to trade with this. So you're killing like a weak thing, which is still okay, but not ideal. All right, and then Quake Strider Ceratops. 6 mana for a 12/8. Wow, okay. 3 green, green, green. Not even like some crazy amounts of green for a 12/8. It's a big creature. Doesn't have trample. I mean, maybe you can give it trample with stuff. If he gets trample, becomes better. I'm just gonna give it a C. I don't really know what to say. You're just gonna chump block it. Your opponent is, or you if they're playing against it. But if you can give it trample or something like that, it becomes a lot better. And that's definitely possible. So just know that. Okay, let's do the artifacts, and well, I guess we'll go over the lands too real quickly. But Swiftfoot Boots, 2 mana, equipment. Equip creature has hexproof and haste. Equips for 1. I think this is probably pretty bad. There's just too much mana. Like giving creatures haste is nice for an extra mana. Giving creatures haste is nice, but for an extra mana, it kind of undoes the whole point because you're basically like waiting a turn to play them. And the hexproof, I mean, that's good with bombs, but like how, you have to do it ahead of time, and you have to have the bomb, and I don't know. I mean, look, if you have like a series of bombs and your whole game plan relies on them staying alive, sure, play it. But otherwise, I think it's like a D minus. Meteor Golem, 7 mana, 3/3. When it enters, destroy target non-land permanent player controls. Yeah, so this can be okay. It's just kind of the question of like, do you have enough time to get to 7 mana? And if you do, this card is pretty good. I'll give it a C to start, and we'll just like see. It's probably going to be better or worse. Like, it's probably either going to be like a B minus, C plus, or like a D. Juggernaut, 4 mana, 5/3. This creature attacks each combat if able, and it can't be blocked by walls. Yeah, it's usually pretty bad, like a D plus. Heraldic Banner, choose a color. Creatures you control the chosen color get +1/+0. Add 1 mana to the chosen color. This card's usually fine. I mean, if you're like mono white or mono red aggro, this card is unbelievable. I mean, if you're any mono color, it's unbelievable, but especially like mono white, mono red aggressive, unbelievable card, like B. If you're red white, I mean, it's still, I guess you can kind of treat it as like a 3-mana ramper artifact. I'll say like C minus. It's fine. Like I wouldn't hate it, especially in an aggro deck, but you just gotta be. Usually, you can be a little pickier than this. Burnished Heart, 3 mana for a 2/2, or for 3 mana you can sacrifice it and search your library for 2 basic lands, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Okay, if you're looking to splash a lot, but it's really slow, and you really don't want to block with this, so I'm gonna say like, I'll say like D plus, honestly. Adventuring Gear, 1 mana equipment, equips for 1, has landfall. Whenever a land enters, equipped creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So really only good for attacking. I think this is pretty bad. Maybe if you're like the aggroist of aggro decks, but even then, like if you don't play lands, it doesn't do anything. So I think I'm just gonna go like D minus. Ravenous Amulet, 2 mana artifact, 1 tap, sacrifice a creature, draw a card, put a soul counter on this artifact. Activate only sorcery. 4 mana tap, sacrifice artifact. Each opponent loses life equal to the number of soul counters on the artifact. So I guess this is like an easy way to sack a creature. I guess provide. I mean, can you imagine this with the reassembling skeleton? Like you just sack it every turn and draw a card, and then later on you can just deal like 10 damage to them. They're not 10, but you know what I'm saying, a lot. Okay, I'm in. I think it's like a build around, but like a build around B minus. Fishing Pole, 1 mana artifact, equipped creature has 1, tap Fishing Pole, put a bait counter on Fishing Pole. Whenever equipped creature becomes untapped, remove a bait counter from the equipment. If you do, create a 1/1 blue fish creature token and equips for 2. So it's 1 mana, equips for 2, and then basically you tap it for 1, and then when it becomes untapped, it then creates a blue fish creature token. And I guess like if they kill it, but they still have to attack. Well, yeah, you kind of can still keep the bait if they kill it. So it kind of has like 1 mana tap, create a 1/1, sort of. Maybe it's okay if it's like you're creating stuff to sacrifice for Morbid. Like it kind of works well with the soul thing we just went over. I'm gonna give it a C minus. All right, and then we'll go over the lands real quickly. So we have dual lands that gain a life, and okay, so we have dual lands that gain a life. These are all like C pluses, I think, on average. Certainly like the first one I really like to put in. Like once I know I'm those colors, I'll put those in my deck. Pretty highly. Even aggro decks. And then what else? What do we have left? Secluded Courtyard. This is land enters, choose a creature type, add colorless, add 1 mana of any color, spend that mana only to cast a creature spell of the chosen type or activate ability. Yeah, this is usually pretty bad. I would say this is like a D. If you get the right creature, fine, but if you just can't risk having an untapped land. I would actually say this is like a D minus. Rogue's Passage. Add colorless for 4. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. Big thing to be giving up. The colorless land, 4 mana. I mean, not being able to be blocked can be really nice, but there's just going to be a lot of times that this costs you. If you're a mono-colored deck, I think this becomes pretty good because you don't need all of your lands to, like, if you have like 13 mountains, you can play like 3 colorless lands, you'll still be fine. But that's like probably the only time I would play this card. So I'll just give it like I'm just gonna give it a D plus, and just keep in mind that if you're a monocolor deck, this becomes like a C plus. Evolving Wilds, I think this is probably like pretty similar to, it's like a C. So it taps. You can kind of search for anything, but these give mana and can still tap for 2 colors. Or sorry, these give life. So Evolving Wilds, I still would play the first one, but I'd probably rather play the tap lands. That was another tap land. And this is a rare, so we'll go over that later. Okay, yeah. So that's all the commons and uncommons. Hopefully, hopefully that helped. Let me know in the comments if you have any disagreements, and I'll talk to you guys later for rares.